Hello, I'm Steph Morrison from HSLDA Canada, and I am here with Starla, who is going to share some information and fun stuff about putting on an event in your local area. We're in the middle of conference season right now. It's just the beginning of May, and there have been a lot of conferences across Canada, and there will be a few more other ones. But these smaller events have been really, really great, and they're really great for a lot of different reasons, which we will get into. So, welcome, Starla. Thank you for being with me today.
Oh, thank you for asking.
So, I am from HSLDA Canada, and what we do is support homeschoolers pretty much. HSLDA is Homeschool Legal Defense Association. It's definitely built on that foundation of having that legal support. So we have lawyers that help our members, and there's that aspect of what we offer, but we also offer so much more. A lot of professional homeschool support. And this is just one of the many things we offer. You can always go and check out our website and see more what we're about, and I'll just put that at the bottom of the screen there. You should be able to click that, but if not, you just punch in that hslda.ca and you'll be able to see more about what we do for homeschoolers and what we do in general, because this we just actually want to encourage anybody to put on some homeschool events. And so Starla put on an event in Moose Jaw, and I'm not too far from Moose Jaw, so I went to that event representing HSLDA and had a table set up there, and I thought it was an exceptional event. One thing I really loved about it was that there seemed to be a lot of people that were going there that were not even homeschooling yet. So maybe they had already made the choice to homeschool. Their kids were, maybe they had another year or another couple years to go. But it was a great event for people to just feel that they can go do a little walk around the room, see what was offered and available for homeschoolers, and hopefully get to chat to people one-on-one a bit about homeschooling. So, but it was also for homeschoolers. So it was also a good draw just for homeschoolers in the area, see what's available. I think what I want to start with is you just sharing, Starla, about your homeschooling experience. So tell us about your homeschool role.
Oh, sure. So we started out homeschooling from the very beginning, and we took a break in grade 2 and tried school for a year, and then went back to homeschooling, and our daughter is in grade 4 now. So we're a military family, so we actually started homeschooling in British Columbia, and now we're here in Saskatchewan, and just found out we're on our way to another province soon. So homeschooling fits really well for the military lifestyle. As we move around, we have the consistency of our home education amongst all of the other changes. So that's where we're at for homeschooling.
Yeah, yeah, and there is definitely a nice community. I've known a couple homeschoolers that are military, and yeah, it ends up moving you a little bit across the country, but
Yes.
there seems to be always a homeschooling community, especially within military families, for the very reason you talked about, right? It's like moving around like that. It's easy, doesn't interrupt the education too much at all.
No. And it's growing. There's a lot more military families are homeschooling now
Oh,
because
that's
it
good.
works really well for children. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So, what prompted you to put on a homeschool fair?
So I guess I can explain what the homeschool fair is. What it was a fair that brought together community organizations, sports, recreation, curriculums, essentially anything you could think of that would benefit a homeschool family, they were represented there. And what prompted this a couple years ago was moving to Moose Jaw and realizing we're coming in at a time where people are already well established into their homeschool year. They have their groups, they have their meetups, and when you move to a new place, you don't really know what's available. And unless you're checking Facebook groups every day, you miss a lot of the wonderful things that parents have put together, that groups are putting together. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice if there was one event I could go to, get as much information as I could that would help me plan for the upcoming homeschool year. So we would be well equipped with what's in the area, what's available to us, and different curriculum and learning options from online to book work. And so that was the motivation behind it, was to get to know the community and what was available.
You already talked about a few of the organizations and associations in that you thought about anyway what would be offered. So what was your process, I guess, to identify? Like, if you can put that into words, like, did you just really think, did you get your list down? What was your process? Now, you're also going to share that. We are going to have, after this event, I'll have that ready next week, we are going to have a package put together that is available to anyone who wants to put on these homeschool fairs. So it's actually really going to give you a big leap forward in the planning and the promotion side of putting on these nice little small events. And yeah, and Starla's going to give us some of those organizations and just what we can look for in our community. But you tell us here, how did you identify what those were?
Sure.
And
Yeah. One of the first things I went to the SHEBE convention, the Saskatchewan Home-Based Educators, when we first moved here. I went to their convention, which was very helpful in getting to know what was available in Saskatchewan. So many of the people I reached out to, like yourselves, were also at that event. And then I thought we're a very community-minded family, and we believe in volunteering in the community, supporting local recreation and groups. And so I reached out to as many as I could think of, and a lot of homeschool parents had already been organizing curling lessons and swimming and different things like that.
mm,
So I reached out to anyone I thought would be willing to, or I knew currently did offer homeschool lessons. So during the daytime, reached out to them, and then also reached out to some new groups and said, hey, would you be interested in coming out to something like this? And they said yes. And then in Moose Jaw, there's a citywide Facebook group. So I put a call out for vendors there with just instructions and a description of what the
yeah.
homeschool fair is and what you
Hmm.
need to offer to be a part of it. And so we got quite a few replies from that as well. Some groups I wouldn't have thought of on my own that reached
Hmm.
out to me, and they had a really good experience at the fair. And then, of course,
Yeah.
your libraries, things like that. The little library in Moose Jaw, the community is really active, so they came out as well.
Yes, I
Yeah.
thought that was neat there. There was the museum, so the Western Museum,
Yes.
right? They have a few locations across
Yes.
Saskatchewan, so they were there. I thought that was a cool addition to the fair and for families to check out.
Yeah, and ask other families as well. Like, hey, do you know of any lessons? Anyone you think should be there? Because they're a fountain of knowledge when you're new to a community, and so they
Yeah.
suggested many groups as well.
Hmm. And like you said, I kind of wanted to bring up that point of there's a lot of organizations that when they don't think of it to begin with, they maybe not be putting themselves out to putting themselves out to homeschoolers, but it's like, yeah, that they want to learn or they want to
Hmm.
whatever it may be. Yeah, I could put I'm even thinking like pottery lessons, right? Are there potters in the
Yes.
area that might want to put something on or just something skill building like that?
Hmm.
Who maybe never thought of, hey, yeah, homeschoolers could be my audience as well.
Yes.
So tell us how you got the word out to the public. So you got the word out to the vendors and you had some, or I should say exhibitors, more so. It wasn't really a
Hmm.
selling kind of thing there,
No. So
but
one of the things that we made clear was this is not to sell. This is simply information and resources. And of course, you can come and share, like Classical Conversations was there,
yeah,
shared about their program, K to 12 homeschool was there, but not selling anything on the spot. It's just information and resources. So there's no pressure on
mhm,
either side. It's free to attend and it's free to come as an exhibitor. And then if people are interested, they can take information and then look into it after. So for me, it was very important that it was free for everybody
mhm.
to come to and to be a part of.
I'll
Yes.
admit I was a little surprised about that. Even maybe free
Oh,
to the public, but free to all the exhibitors as well,
yeah.
because it's a really it is an opportunity where you could charge money, but I think it actually just makes it more community, like it's pulling together
Mhm.
community more as making it that way. So
Yes.
I definitely like that approach.
So what we did for advertising was once we had our list of vendors, we had a cutoff date, and then I made some posters, which you can use Canva online to make some free posters, and then ran it through one of my homeschooling friends. I ran it through her, check for any mistakes, does it make sense?
That's
I had
another
it reviewed
step.
a few times, and then we sent it out like social media. We put it all over social media, printed some and had them put up locally, and then I asked if families would share it in the groups that they're a part of and with anyone that they thought of. And then we have an online newspaper in Moose Jaw. So I sent it to their events section and they listed it for us as well. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
That's great.
pretty much free to advertise, which was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's lots of options in promotion for
Hmm.
especially these smaller community events. And like you said, even to the paper and like to getting out to the wider public,
Hmm.
right? If you can draw in people who are maybe not homeschooling yet, so they're really not connected to the homeschooling community in the area, but
Hmm.
they're thinking of it as an option, which every parent should
Yes.
be. That should be one of your education options. So, how much time? So, always organizing events can be overwhelming, and we can think that, oh, it takes a lot of time. I just don't have the time. So,
Hmm.
tell us how much time you think you put into it, and if you had anybody else helping you, like, how did that work out for you?
So, yes, I had some wonderful volunteers. They were from the very beginning helping me to plan,
Mm.
organize, and then set up and take down. They were fantastic. For time, it actually doesn't take as much time as it feels like it would for myself. And I had one of the vendors commented on the efficiency of my email. So I just drafted one email with as much information as I could, the invitation email, and I attached the poster with it so they had something that they could share if they needed to ask someone else if they could go. So that one email, and then I made a free Google form that they could fill out. So once I received that, they got one email after that with all of the information they needed for the day of the event, how many people were expecting, everything from where to park, what time you need to be set up by. All of that was in the second email. And then after that, I only sent a reminder just beforehand. Just a quick, like, it was just a, hey, see you on Saturday. And so 3 emails in total and the Google form. So I'd probably say, I don't know, because I've done expos before. So I'd probably say just a few hours in total for the emails and contacting people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was talking to you at the homeschool fair, like after it, I was for one let whole, watching what I really wanted to do for to get from Starla was I was just actually so impressed about the people that it drew in and the ease to which so it was a 2 hour event. I think that's also nice
Yes.
to say it's not a long 2 hour event, and it was sort of like the come
Hmm.
and go kind of thing, right? Like you walked and
Yes.
you came in and you walked around, saw the tables, and you had a little incentive too. The
Oh, yes, the
share
passport.
about that to get people to really figure out to go to all the tables.
Yes. Okay, so what we did, I found that 2 hours is the sweet spot. It keeps the flow, it keeps it full and busy, the energy high,
Hmm.
and you're asking people to come out on a Saturday, and you're asking business owners to send employees on a Saturday. So we wanted to respect the time, and also we did it on a Saturday so the whole family could attend together.
Hmm.
Both parents could be there, or if grandparents with homeschooling, there's a lot of people that
Hmm.
like to see what's going on. So we specifically do it on a Saturday morning, and
Yeah.
then people have the rest of the day. And what we did was we asked vendors, there's no fee to come, but if they'd like to donate a door prize, they could. And what we did was we created an event passport, which had every booth on it. And if you stopped at the table, they would mark it off. And this encouraged people to stop by every booth because sometimes we skip over booths we think we don't need or they don't interest us, only to realize we missed out on something that would have been great for our family. So it kept the vendors busy, it kept people busy. The kids loved it. They loved
Hmm.
getting the check marks and
Yep, they
going
did.
around. Yeah, and then after we used the passports to draw for the door prizes, and we were able to give out a lot of door prizes. And
Good.
some to current homeschooling families, some to considering, some to new Canadian families. So it was really neat to meet them and talk with them after as we gave them the door prizes. So it
Uh-huh.
was nice. So yeah, prizes for us to give away at no cost. And then we had a used book room this year
Yes, that's a
down
nice little
in the
addition.
basement. So you could go and you could buy books, curriculum, games. That was run by two other moms ran that.
Hmm.
Uh, and it was just something they said, could we do this at the same time? So I think that worked really well. But it was free to go to it. You and no obligation to buy anything. But
Just get to
yeah, the
browse around.
passport was great, I think.
Yeah, it was. It made that little something, like you said, kind of getting everybody to at least go there. And I will say, as being at the booth, now I had my husband with me and he was doing the sign off. And I'm like, so some people just came up and
Mhm.
especially kids, they would come up and they would say, "Can you sign this?" It's like, so we might talk a little bit about depending their age and how old they were and stuff like that. But if
Mhm.
parents were with them, it gave us that opportunity to say, hey, this is what we're about. But then
Mhm.
it also, oh shoot, what was I going to say with it? Oh, yes, there were a number of kids. So I'm talking even like still kids, but like preteen,
Mhm.
teenagers who would actually be like, so what do you do?
Nice.
And I know they weren't super interested. I know it was sort of like an encouragement, but hey, we got our name out there.
Mhm.
We got the, I don't know if it'll stay in their heads, but there was one mention of us in their heads. So that was a really great thing. It made it fun and it
Mhm.
it helped to make everybody kind of know what all the booths were about. All the
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it was a wide variety of tables.
Mhm.
Everything from volunteer opportunities, which I think as homeschool families we're uniquely placed to volunteer in many
Yes.
different ways in our community. So,
Mhm.
in addition to educational resources, there were those opportunities, free programs like the cadet program,
Mhm.
free and St. John Ambulance was there talking about their different coursing. So, home education's wonderful because it's not just books. You get a lot of education when you go and spend time in your community, at your local library, volunteering with the food bank. It's a lot of
Mhm.
education that happens in life. So we also included those organizations. And I would add that every booth that was there came with specific information for homeschooling. So the post secondary institutions came with information. How can I come to your institution as a homeschooler? What do I need to provide if I don't have the traditional diplomas? So they all came prepared with that in mind. So that was
Mhm.
the other thing that we said. You just have to make sure you have homeschool information,
Yeah,
which is useful, especially for our teenagers looking at the next steps.
yeah.
Now the families know, okay, we need to start thinking about these requirements to get into a post secondary institution. So it's
Mhm.
quite helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice there. I think there were a couple different post-secondaries there, but
Hmm.
I think you said that like there was really such a variety of and, like it would have been just great thinking if somebody knew homeschooling and actually for me who's been homeschooling for 17 years now, it's really neat to see that as well. Like and thinking about the museums, and I think you had we were actually trying to figure that out. It was sort of a little bit across the room, but it must have been like the park and recs, like it was the something to do with swimming, I guess. But was it the
Oh, that's interesting. Actually, so I reached out to the base here because we're a military family. I said, "Hey, you have this awesome facility with a gym, a pool. Would you consider putting on a homeschool gym class and a homeschool swim class during the week?" And they looked into it and they said yes. So it's called PSP, so they take care of like recreation and
oh
sports. So if you have a base by you, it is worth asking, and there's several military families here. So the gym class has been running for over a year now, every Monday, and kids just love it.
mm-hmm.
And you drop your kids off, and it's like not quite a traditional gym class, but they get to experience badminton, basketball, everything you could think of. And so one of the things I live by in our homeschool is just ask. Just
Mm-hmm.
ask. Someone might say no, we can't do that, but with the homeschool fair, we just reached out, just asked, just invited, and it's amazing how many organizations and groups want to support the homeschool community, and it
Mm-hmm.
benefits our local businesses, right? Like to have a homeschool class, that's for them, it's wonderful. Like we
Mm-hmm.
have jujitsu lessons during the daytime. There's curling. There's so many things, and it's because parents just ask.
You make a really good point there as far as reaching out to organizations and companies like businesses out there. Sometimes they don't know. They just haven't even thought of that concept of, yeah, we actually do offer something that would be really good for homeschooling families. So yes, very, it's like, I think as you that are watching this, as you're thinking about your own event to put on and what's in your local community, I think you'll also have really unique options available depending where you are. Like, I'm not too far from Starla as far as the whole country is concerned. I'm just in Swift. I'm actually north of Swift Current, but Swift Current is my biggest city there. And I could just think of some of those areas, different things that I know that are going on, and that they would be a great part of a homeschool fair, for instance, because I've already started
Yes.
brainstorming a little bit in my head, like, okay, what is the Swift Current homeschool fair going to look like? Just start thinking and brainstorming, and yeah, just go out and ask those that might seem like they could be remotely interested. You had the police there as well, so were they there
Oh, yes.
for a career?
So, she was sharing about community engagement first of all, and then also to share about if you're interested in becoming a police officer, this is what you need to know. So the different requirements. So that's really nice about inviting those groups as well. So there's a lot of kids when they're younger like, I want to be a police officer. Great, let's find out what that means to be a police officer. Let's talk about it. And so we did invite them out. And I would just add, I didn't mention it, but the venue was also free for us. So I reached out to the church and I said, hey, this is what we would like to do. Could we do this? And yes. Like, so they were very supportive of doing it. And then just surrounding yourself with good people, people who support the idea, who want to volunteer. I had amazing support. And, moms there taking down chairs and moving tables. And so reach out to your local group and say, would anyone like to be a part of this with me?
Yeah.
And then many hands make light work. So and then we asked for just for the door and the exit when people were coming and going, we just said, hey, would you volunteer for just 1 hour? And so we had enough volunteers that nobody had to do something for the whole time, so they could also take in the fair. But reach out to like churches and stuff for a free venue because they're pretty supportive, and they usually have tables and chairs, which is helpful.
Yeah, and I think that, how everything was free for it. And so sure, there's a few people that are putting time towards it. But if you have kind of everything together, if you have this great promotion and planning package that we're going to put together,
Yes.
and you have that available, you have this great advice from Starla, who's actually put it on. It is really not even that much time.
No, it's not.
I would imagine, and that's even, I know you've got a little bit of planning in your background, event planning in your background, and I'm sure that helped. But
It
anyway,
did help.
this sounds like a nice little small event that really anybody can put on. And I know there are a lot of people out there that are really passionate about sharing home education to more families because there are so many families that don't really realize what it is and that it's actually so much more, it's so much better for family life. Let's put it that way. Like there is just one of the things I say often is, and because it came out in a conference I was at, and we asked the question, what is the top reason? Many people were hard, what? Just one reason? Okay, what's the top reason that you would give people for homeschooling your kids? And every single one of them said in some form or another about relationships. It's the relationships that your kids are able to have together, so siblings together. It's the relationships that you can have as parent and child, when you're not sending them away for hours and hours of the day and you're not separated like that. It's inevitable that you're going to have greater relationships. And in this day and age too, I have to say, sometimes I say, I'm not going to say maybe it's easy this time, but sometimes I say that and I felt like I've been sort of prompted by God. Maybe don't say it's easy. So the education part is easy. That's what I've said a lot. And I don't want to say that it's easy outside of being a parent, because I think I kind of pair that with, I've had that experience of having one of my children go through public school, and I've had two where I've completely homeschooled. So I see that difference in the relationships I'd have with them. I see that difference in that influence that my oldest son was around all the time, and the fact that we weren't together. So I kind of see that difference. And parenting is easier when you're around your kids more. Parenting is easier when you're the main influence of their life. Now, there are barriers to overcome, and I hope that going to homeschool fairs and parents just talking, that they are encouraged more to know that this education option of homeschooling is not just for those wanting to either like get away from the public school system, and there's a lot of reason for that, and depending on your values and beliefs, there's a lot that it's not that the school system does not align with, but that shouldn't be your reason to educate your own kids. The first reason really should be about what it is for your family life, how it is for you to parent, as well as the benefits to your child's education. Because I hope you agree with me, Starla. Like, you probably can give your kids a better education than any mass educational system,
A
right?
more personalized education, which is great. And kind of like what you're saying, when you're at the homeschool fair, it was really neat seeing what our daughter gravitated towards.
Hmm.
You know, these boosts, these subjects that perked an interest in her. You're like, oh, I didn't know you had an interest in that.
Hmm.
You know, so it was
That's
really neat
interesting.
to see that, like with the different sports and recreation and volunteer opportunities. Like, oh, yes, we can look into volunteering at the food bank if that's what interests you. So it gives you this unique opportunity to observe them and
Mm-hmm.
see what they like, how they interact with others. So that's why it's nice to have a wide variety of booths
Yeah.
that way. Again, that you can personalize. Once you get to see that and you take all this stuff home and
Mm-hmm.
you kind of use it to plan your upcoming year or a few months, you can tailor it then to the things that interest them. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's
That's kind
nice.
of what makes home education the winner every time. It's like the customized and
Yeah.
personalization.
And it reminds you that there's a lot of support out there, right? Like
Yes.
having Stevie there and HSLDA and all these other groups there, you're like, there's a lot of support. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of wisdom here. I was walking around just kind of seeing the interactions, and I could see the relief on some of the faces of the people considering homeschooling while they were at the
Mm-hmm.
different booths. Like, okay, it's not as overwhelming as it seems. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, we're not recreating a classroom at home. We're
Yeah.
personalizing it. So I think it was really encouraging for those considering it or those who've been in it for a while and are just like, we need something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's nice that way. And I would say the only other thing I would add is spend a few, like, even 10 minutes just looking at your local calendars, your city calendars, just to
Mm.
make sure you're not overlapping. Like, Shibi puts on an awesome convention in February, so I would never put it on in February because they put on this great event. So asking your groups when is a good time. The first time we did it, we had it in June, and a lot of the feedback was, could you move it to like April? Because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of farmers in Saskatchewan. Great to know. Absolutely, we can move. And then those people were able to attend.
Yeah.
So I would say just seek some feedback of when would be a good time in your community to put one on.
Mm-hmm. Very good tip. That was kind of my closing prompt for you. Any advice? So you've got that. I don't know if you have anything else. And I would also say, there have been a couple, I think we've had a couple in Alberta that we've had Patty from HSLDA go to, but really these are conferences. They have kind of a couple speakers, not like the great big
Mhm.
a couple day conferences, but they were still small and intimate. There was a little bit of a charge for them.
Mhm.
They kind of did the mostly a full day event. So I'm gonna include that. If you
Yeah.
feel like this is a really, I love the thought of organizing this, and I'm definitely see myself organizing this and more the
Great. Great.
homeschool fair, the couple hour walkthrough. But there's also
Mhm.
the kind of mini conference that
Yep.
so these events really there've been like 20 to 40 people at these events, and they have been really really great. Like, just because they're
Mhm.
smaller, people are a little bit more connected, and they're kind of together through the day. So I am also going to include in this planning and promotion package just a little bit on really creating those mini conferences too,
Great
and
idea.
of course these nice homeschool fairs, because I actually think these should be happening like all across our little
That'd be
community.
amazing. That'd be
Yes.
amazing. Well, each time we move, I'll plan one in a new place,
Yeah,
and
you can just
someone can
use
take
it,
them over.
spread them as you're moving
That's
across the
right.
country.
Yeah.
So any other advice that comes to mind?
I think if it's sitting in your heart to do something like this, you don't have to be outgoing and extrovert to plan something like this.
Hmm.
Again, surround yourself with a few people that support this vision, this idea. And I would suggest keeping your first one free.
Yeah.
see how that goes. I really like the idea of like a 1 day conference. I'm all about conferences. I really enjoy them. They're valuable. But start off doing a free event, make connections in your community, um, and then find a venue that'll let you do it for free, and then go from there.
Mhm.
It's easier than you think, and then you're not in it alone.